A lot of very big things to cover today for the uranium sector and the overall market in general, the world. A lot of things are happening with uranium in the United States, especially with the United States wanting to not rely on Russia. So there's a lot of big things going on with the Senate Committee on Energy. And we're also going to talk about Kazakhstan, Kazatomprom. There is a big issue with 43% possibly of the world's uranium that's going to be at risk with the further tensions with Russia. We're going to touch on all of that. There's a lot of alarming things going on. You're not going to want to miss this entire video. You're going to want to watch it all. I'm going to let you in on my uranium sheet. I'm going to show you the overall uranium stocks today, how they ranked overall. I've changed some things up because I think that there are some geopolitical risks in certain areas, and I think that United States producers could see a boost. So just visually, as we look through here, this is the overall market today. And like I said, uranium stocks, they're still trading with the overall market. This is today with the market. This is the Dow Jones. When it dropped, you pretty much see uranium stocks follow as, start to see the Dow drop. Uranium stocks drop, then they start to go back up. I mean, we're still pegged to the overall market. It's pretty easy to see that when the market starts to, by the end of the day, started to go up. We saw a few of the bigger uranium stocks do that as well. And, it's pretty easy to trade these right now. I've been pretty much trading these every day, especially energy fuels. It's really nice, on the upside and very volatile. And I think on the upside long term, these US producing uranium stocks. So here it is today. So this was sent out yesterday to the president. This is the Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources. So they said, "Dear Mr. President, the Russian invasion of Ukraine has laid bare a broken U.S. energy policy. It is time to change course and return America to its dominant role in global energy." This is one big thing that I really want to cover. It's to instruct the Department of Energy to begin purchases of domestically produced uranium for a strategic uranium reserve, because more than 90% of the uranium we use is imported. Nearly half of the uranium we import comes from Russia and its allies, which is Kazatomprom. And that stock's almost down 50%. And I've been saying this, that's one stock that I did not invest in specifically myself. One of the reasons I felt that Kazatomprom had lowballed the market for years and, killed a lot of uranium stocks off. So I didn't like that, although they are providing, I think the United States, we have plenty of, uranium we can actually produce, in North America as well, up there in Canada. So I think, we need to not rely on Russia anymore. They say nuclear power is the largest source of emission-free energy, and maintaining a secure supply of uranium should be a priority. Now, Biden did say in this, and you can see this is legit, like they actually signed it and everything. Biden said he's going to pretty much do whatever it takes. And all these big companies are starting to now put sanctions on Russia, not do business with them. Overall, Europe, outlook on these sanctions, it's starting to increase, and they might actually look at doing an embargo on Russia, which would be massive. And this is one article on Bloomberg that I wanted to show everyone. And we rely so much, obviously, on Russia for our gas imports, and you can see it's pretty much like the arteries of a lot of the energy there in Europe. We're going to see a 180 from Germany, especially on energy with nuclear. I think you're going to start to see a big change. And this, this is positive. They did say some analysts don't think the energy will escape the growing list of sanctions levied against Russia, and are starting to look at a potential impact. Halting or limiting Russian energy will boost prices that have already surged more than 6 times above levels a year ago, driving up inflation across the region. So the Fed's going to have to do something. The space program there in Russia, those companies, they're already stopping sending these rockets to the United States, and they're not going to maintenance them either. So they're really saying some very scary things, trying to threaten the world. And I'm going to show you those in a minute. Some of it is pretty comical. Now, this is massive. And this is something you're not going to hear anywhere else, because just like when I said that Russia was likely to invade Ukraine, everyone said it was FUD. They're going to say this is FUD as well. Several Russian officials and commentators are suggesting that Vladimir Putin should use the contingent of the forces of the Organization of the Collective Treaty of Organization to annex Kazakhstan. Yes, I'll repeat that again. Annex Kazakhstan. Now, there are a bunch of sources on this. A lot of these people, they do work in the government. A lot of them, do have a, pretty big pull. There's a few articles on this we're going to touch on in a second, but this is huge. 43% of the world's uranium. I was saying this back in January when Russia just so happened to send their CSTO troops over there for peace treaty, peacekeeping. And I really think that not only this, the Russian mercenaries were being sent into, north part of Africa because of France pulling out their troops because the terrorists, they said, were a threat to the, uranium and the industry there. So I saw this coming, and I do think that it is very possible that although, Kazakhstan's a part of NATO and they are not necessarily likely to join in the war, they could get pulled into this because they're already seeing very, very unfortunate circumstances with their oil and not getting paid. And there's just a whole list of things going on. The banks that they use, Russia, has like $40 billion invested in them. So they're already starting to see these impacts. And this here says Kazakhstan braces for impact of Russian sanction regimen. So a stronger dollar will cause a rise in prices across a wide range of goods, from cars, domestic appliances, to building materials, and even real estate there. Now, we already saw a massive uprising from the people in Kazakhstan because of energy prices and inflation. And that's when they sent in these Russian troops. And I really did have my suspicions with what was going on. And it says in this, even Kazakhstan's oil won't come out of this unscathed. And Reuters news agency reported on March 1st that the buyers of oil delivered through the CPC pipeline, that's a route that runs through western Kazakhstan to ports in southern Russia, are currently refraining from making orders amid the uncertainty provoked by the sanction regimens. So the Reuters actually cited 5 unnamed buyers saying that they have been avoiding making purchases for oil to be delivered in late March. 5 traders who spoke with Reuters on conditions of they want to be anonymous. They said that buyers have been avoiding the CPC for delivery in late March. More than 53 million tons of oil, equivalent to around 2/3 of Kazakhstan's oil exports, were shipped through the CPC in 2021. So this is very big. This is going to really hurt Kazakhstan. And this article was something very alarming as well. So they said that the Kazakh leadership appears to be eager to make Putin's vision of Kazakhstan come true. So the president there, majority of the time, is actually speaking in Russian. And that's what this article is really talking about. And it does say that the country is, pretty much, I think 70% of the people support the annex of Crimea by Russia. And they really do. I've looked on social media. There is a lot of support, in a sense, for Putin in this. And, although the government there, I really do think that they owe it to, in a sense, to Putin. They owe him one for coming over there when this, uprising was happening. So I think this is very big for the overall uranium sector. 43% of the world's uranium is at risk if they do, in a sense, side with Russia and if they're annexed and, they leave NATO. I mean, this could be a massive thing for the uranium sector. We're already going to see, I think, triple digits, but this would probably put us in the parabolic category where we see, look at these percentages year over year. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, uranium is probably going to start to see these things too. We were at 1,000% yesterday. Next thing is what's pretty alarming, and it does have some funny sides to it. So we're going to look at the funny stuff, but we're going to talk about it. So Russia halts deliveries of rocket engines to the US. So Roscosmos, they said that Russia had decided to stop supplying rocket engines to the United States in retaliation for its sanctions against Russia over Ukraine. So the head of state space agency said on Thursday, in a situation like this, we cannot supply the U.S. with the world's best rocket engines. Okay, let them fly on something else. They're broomsticks. I don't know what. We've got SpaceX. We've got rockets that we're reusing that we can land, okay? So I think it is kind of funny that they say this. They did say that they would see it as a threat of war if they were being hacked. Now, Anonymous has been hacking their agency, their websites, a bunch of things because, this is on a big scale. They pretty much, now they're involving, in a sense, Elon Musk. And even Elon Musk is talking about this specifically to Starlink because he sent those over. And he says Starlink is the only non-Russian communication system still working in some parts of Ukraine. So probability of it being targeted is high. Please use with caution. Person said, hey, Elon, any advice on how to use it with caution? This is regards to a message being sent using Starlink. And he said, turn on Starlink only when needed and place the antenna away as far away from people as possible. Place light camouflage over the antenna to avoid visual detection. Will spray paint work? He's like, yes, provided no metal particles in the paint. So Elon Musk is literally telling the people there to camouflage these. So obviously Russia's pissed. You know, Elon's doing some phenomenal things, really helping the people. And it's very alarming what they have been saying on their Twitter here. They are saying ICBM, the new heavy ICBM, will guarantee the security of Russia for decades to come. This is pretty alarming. Obviously, no one's liking this because they're basically threatening nuclear war. And they're also saying Russian counter sanctions in space will lead to billions in losses for the US and the UK. OneWeb is facing bankruptcy. And they're also saying, I mean, they're just getting, you know, obviously a lot of hate. This was kind of funny, like I said, calling them broomsticks, because if you really want to look at it, these are our broomsticks. And yes, we're actually reusing them. So it is pretty funny that they're calling us out on this when we're doing phenomenal things like this. Pretty impressive. Reusing a rocket. Who knew? The SR-71 Blackbird, the U-2 spy jet. It's the fastest plane at one point in the world. My mom actually was in the Air Force reconnaissance intel. She actually worked with this specific aircraft during the Cold War, which is pretty crazy. I've got some amazing stories. But, you know, we invented that. We also invented the new SR-72, which will be in Top Gun. And it is pretty funny that, you know, for the most part, it's funny but scary that we are now in the 80s in a sense feel again. We're seeing Top Gun again. You know, there's Cold War 2.0. Hopefully nothing happens from it. But I mean, when these things happen, you just kind of got to look at the funny side. And I guess it is kind of funny that we're looking at the 80s again. But I mean, look at this. The SR-72, that's our broomstick. The B-2 bomber. Okay, Russia broomsticks. Okay, come on. What else? Oh, the F-35. Yeah, funny broomsticks, right? So as per my uranium sheet, I've actually re-ranked a lot of stocks. And these numbers are based on now a lot of jurisdiction changes. I think there's a lot more jurisdiction upside, especially for uranium producers here in America. So I have a new ranking here, and these things change daily, you know, based on pounds and everything. If you want access to this, it's going to be in the link in the description below. The overall uranium sector, this is a big threat to national security. Obviously, the government, I really believe, is going to want to start to produce uranium here in America. And with Russia and these companies really kind of retaliating and threatening this Cold War 2.0, I don't think it's going to really come to that. But I think the overall market is probably going to continue in a downstride. It's going to be pretty worried. And commodities, uranium's got to break out because it's still pegged to the overall market. I am very bullish uranium. I'm still day trading and swing trading uranium stock, 60% cash, but I still have my long-term uranium stocks, especially that I invested in March of 2020. We are still connected, like I said, to the overall market, so I'll continue to day trade that. If you want to see and talk about uranium, I'm not going to make these videos every day. I just had to do this because this is very big. This is a very big thing. And now it's out there. Now we can look back and say, hey, was he right about this as well? Was he right about, you know, Kazakhstan, 43% of the world's uranium supply? And, you know, in a few months from now, is Russia going to limit Kazakhstan from doing business? You know, what are they going to do? And I honestly think if it came down to it, if things escalated, that Putin would utilize that and they would probably block that. And they're already obviously seeing the government talk about this. So I'm going to keep my eye on this. And if you want access to those sheets, if you want access to talk about uranium 24/7, look in the link in the description below.